Fat ladders for you.
No, see, this is the stuff. This is the abuse I've got to deal with. So
You're right there, yeah?
this is the bike I'm going to be taking out. And apparently I need a step ladder to get on this one. I won't be using that step ladder. I will, however, be throwing it at them when I go back in. Guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. You'd have seen the hilarious joke where they brought this bike out for me and brought a ladder. Oh, how we laughed. Well, they did, I didn't. However, the ladder, to be fair, might be needed because this is a big bugger. This is, of course, the Mondial SMX 125, and it's not a small bike. It's definitely suited for the people with larger legs because this seat height is 946 millimeters. You heard that right. So next to me on the side stand, it is as high as my hip. Very similar to the Vosges 300 Rally I've got. Very similar height to that. So I'm expecting tiptoes today. Does look nice though. In fact, it looks very nice. Now this one is a couple of years old and it does look brand new. And I have seen one of these, I have ridden one of these before, but not with this colour scheme, and this is very similar to my Vosges, my white and blue Vosges that I've got. So we'll do the usual, we'll give you all angles. Yeah, I think this is a nice looking thing. So you've got a clear lens with an orange bulb. Yeah, don't know about that. Before I talk specs, let me just tell you how much they've got this bike up for sale for, and that is £2,499. For that kind of money, you're getting a nice looking bike, but you're getting a bike that you can go and play with off-road because it's definitely made to be taken off-road. I'll go and see shortly what it's like on-road, but off-road is where this bike should play. That's what I got my Vosges for, and it's exactly how I see this bike fits in as well. It's got a decent ground clearance there as well, so you should have loads of room for the rough and ready stuff. It comes with the spoke wheels, but you can see the tread on these. CST tyres. You've got a single piston disc brake at the rear. I can't see a name on that. I can't see any makes on the brakes. It has got the classic off-road bench seat. Grab handles at the back should you want to take someone on the back. It does come with a rear pegs. Now the good thing with that for me is if you were to go to somewhere like the ABR festival, the Adventure Bike Festival, this bike would be allowed on the off-road tracks. Yeah, it's definitely where I'd want to take it as well. That's where I'll be taking my own Vosges Rally this year. Only got a small tank, 6 litres. However, it does claim 100 miles per gallon, so you'll get some distance on that. Maximum speed is a claimed 65 miles per hour. Now if a motorcycle, if a 125 claims to be able to go over 60 mile an hour, I'm going to have to test it, aren't I? I may put it through a performance test. We'll see when we go out, we'll see if that road's available. If it is, yeah, I'm going to check the performance out. Weight wise, this is where this is a winner. It's 122 kilograms. Now if you watch the last video where I went on the Vosges SR1 ADV scooter, that is actually 10 kilograms heavier than this bike. In fact, it's 12 kilograms heavier than this bike. So it's a light bike. Again, makes it ideal for a bit of off-roading, because if you did drop it, and it happens, yeah, it does, it's going to be easy to pick up. it's certainly easy to wheel around. As you would expect, it's got a chain drive. This type of bike also does not come with a centre stand, but it's got a very long side stand. I personally would get one of those extenders, you know, like the little feet that come out. Just makes it easier for when you do go off-roading, that it's not going to sink in the mud. As far as the buttons go, fairly basic. You've got your indicators, there is a horn, and you've got high and low beam. Right hand side, you've got your engine start, engine cut off. That is it, very basic. It's got halogen bulbs, random splash of yellow at the front, but I think it does make it stand out really nicely. Now, someone very recently pointed out to me how I get on bikes incorrectly. Now, I know what they're talking about. They're talking about the taller bikes and getting on the bike by standing on the peg first. Now, from a personal point of view, I have never got onto any of my bikes like that. I know you can, but I just never have. And because I was a lot heavier, I always worried that I was going to stand on the peg and something was going to happen to the side stand. Now I've lost a little bit of weight. Yeah, I've just got in the habit of getting on the way I get on, which is just throwing my leg straight over. Now, I think for a bike like this, that's going to make it quite difficult, just purely because of how tall it is. However, I think that's good for me because it means that I get my stretches in, keeps me flexible and being able to do it. I'm going to give it a go. Yes, as expected, it's a tiptoes job. Actually feels very similar to my own Vosges 300 Rally as far as the seat height goes. So yeah, I could put one foot on the peg and have one foot flat-footed. One foot flat-foot? Do you know what I mean? Or tiptoes. But I think, again, that is something that is very much like a lot of this style of bike. You want them to be tall because you need to have the ground clearance. The only time it really will affect you is if you're out and about off-road and you do try and stop when you've got a rut or something at the side of you that's a bit lower than where the wheels are. As I found out recently on my very own bike, when you put your foot down and there's no ground there and you just keep going until you find it, yeah, bit of an error, but it happens off-road. But that's the beauty with this, because it's light, very easy to pick up. The pegs are central, so we'll do a stand-up test while I'm riding as well, because you're going to be standing up on this, aren't you, if you take it off-road. I might even find a little gravel track local. In fact, there's no might about it. I'm definitely going to find a local gravel track and have a little go. Proof I didn't need a step ladder. Anyway, I'm going to grab my helmet and we'll go for a ride. Let's go and test out the performance. Let's see what it's like for a bit of loose stone. Let's go. So there's the screen. So quite a lot of information, as you can see. You've got a decent enough size there. It's not too small, but you can see your speedo. This has got a clock, total miles only 641, so very low mileage, and it's got a temperature. Let's start it up. Now you can't hear the engine because of some noisy sirens coming past, so give that a sec. So as far as the noise goes, yeah, it sounds like a high revving 125, to be fair, like you'd want this to sound. Like a feisty little off-roader. So what we'll do, we'll take it for a little spin, see how we get on. Yes, typical off-road style. Yes, you can feel the bumps. The suspension on it actually is good. The fact you can feel the bumps on something like this means that the suspension is not too soft. Horn works. The fact it just goes up and down the curb like that. Again, it's just what I like about this type of bike. Now, I do want to test the performance out, and it's purely because when a bike says it's capable of doing 65 miles an hour, I need to check it out. But I know for this type of bike and the style, it's not really the main focus, I don't think. I'm 5'8" with a 29-inch inseam, so if you're shorter, just be mindful of that, and if you're taller, then happy days, stop showing off. And there's certainly no issues getting up to 40 miles an hour. It feels quite sprightly actually, it does feel quite nippy. I am curious to see whether we can get to 60 miles an hour. I know it says it'll do 65, but they are usually very flexible with the truth, aren't they, when it comes to top speed figures. The thing for me is 60 mile an hour on a bike actually opens it up to make it more usable, and by that I mean it makes it safer on national speed limit roads in the UK. It makes it safer on the odd dual carriageway that you got a 60-70 mile an hour speed limit. You're going to be doing at least as fast as the slowest vehicles on there, like your lorries and whatnot, and that's what you want. You want to be able to get close to the speed limit. You don't want to be a rolling roadblock. If you have never ridden this type of bike before, if you've ridden other road bikes, the seats on these are very narrow. They're not particularly wide, they're not particularly comfortable either. It's a standard off-road type seat, so you do have to get used to it. I fortunately do ride my Vosges Rally quite a lot, so I'm used to this type of seat. However, when you haven't ridden one of these before, you will start to feel the old ache on the bottom quite early doors. It won't last though. I mean, the more you ride it, the more you become accustomed to it, but initially they can feel a little bit uncomfortable because they're not as plush and as wide as most other motorcycle seats. It feels like a brand new bike. It's going through the gears very, very nicely indeed. Gear changes very easy. Oh, it is quite sprightly for this type and style of bike. I'm actually quite impressed with the pickup there. Reference my own Vosges just purely because it's of a similar style, but very similar to that. The faster you go, the more vibrations you get in through your backside. Again, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm used to it on my own bike, and it's just normal for this type of bike, I think. Now we're on a national speed limit road. It's doing over 50 mile an hour quite easily. I am in top gear. I'm on full throttle going uphill, and we are doing 53 miles per hour indicated, or 54. So that is some way off the claim 65. However, we are going uphill. If you are built like a racing snake, then there's a very good chance the bike will perform much better with you on it than it does with me on it. But that is just normal for a 125. Weight does matter. The lighter you are, the faster you would be expected to go. So we'll see what it's like when I do the performance bit very, very shortly. Just have to pull over to my usual little grid space over here. I'm actually using a curb assist here. The joys of the bike being so tall. For anyone familiar with the channel, if you have seen this performance test before, let me just run through it very quickly. This is a national speed limit road, carries a 60 miles an hour speed limits, and that's what I'm aiming for, to get to 60 miles an hour. The bike says it'll do it and beyond, so if it does 60, for me that's a winner. Now I will give it the beans down this road and try and get to 60 miles an hour as quickly as I possibly can, and we'll see, can it compete with the better performing 125 bikes or can it not? I would suspect it won't compete with the sports bikes, the naked sports bikes, but if it gets to 60 on the long straight, which is after the bend over there, then it's going to be up there with the average performers. If it gets to 60 mile an hour before the bend on the left where the White House is, then it's up there with the good performers, but I'd be shocked if it was up there with the good performers. We are good to go. Now there is no rev counter, so I can't actually see where my limit is, so I'm just doing it to the limit. Let's move that. 60? No, that can't be right. That got to, no, how the hell? I need to take a minute here. Right, so that got to 60 mile an hour where the good performers get to 60 mile an hour. And I can feel it's got plenty more to give as well. I mean, this speed now going slightly uphill, 60 mile an hour comes back and it does start to creep over it. In fact, it feels like it's got quite a bit more to give, which I find just phenomenal. That, no. How the hell has that just happened? How? Right, I'm a bit shocked here. That didn't just get to 60 mile an hour. That was like one of the quickest. No, that was just shocking. So that got to an indicated 57 miles an hour at the point where the fastest 125 I've ever taken down that road got to 60 mile an hour. So it was indicating 57 where the Suzuki GSXR 125 got to 60, which for me is phenomenal in itself, because that bike has always been significantly faster than anything else. That, no, I am genuinely speechless, because that should not perform so well. The only thing I can think, right, is the other Mondial that I've been on recently. So that was more of a sports bike in its riding position and everything, but that just managed to get to 60 miles an hour before the bend. Okay, so that did it. Now if it's got the same engine as that bike, and this is actually lighter because it's only 122 kilograms, so technically speaking, if it's got the same engine as that other Mondial, which actually uses the same engine as the Aprillia 125, the RS, so it does have a good engine in it, but if this has the same engine, yeah, that might explain the performance, thinking about it. Now this is something now, right, so we're just on a light bit of gravel, so nothing too gnarly, nothing too difficult, just a standard bit of loose stones, and yeah, there's no issues with it. However, I've noticed the first thing that doesn't suit me, and that is the bars are actually a little bit too low for me. So, or the pegs are too high, one or the other. So when you stand up on the bars, I'm at full stretch holding the bars, and that's with a little bend in my knee. So for me to have this bike and to use it as an off-roader, I would definitely need some sort of bar risers going on. Loads of loose stones, and it's gripping nicely. Nice little view as well, but it's gripping nicely, and it's happily bouncing along. It's clearly been looked after. It's just clearly hardly ever been used because of the low miles on it. But you know, someone not using a lot is the gain for whoever buys it, because they're getting a like new bike for a used price. I go on a lot of 125 bikes. There are many of them. Many 125 bikes that Intumoto sell. There is many a 125 bike that I've actually been on and reviewed for the channel, and I am shocked. In fact, the Vosges R125, they're one of my favourites actually, because I think for the money they are absolutely phenomenal, and that was probably the best performing, I'm going to call it, cheaper bike, because at less than £3,000 brand new, the performance was equal to, if not better, than the Yamaha MT125. So a really impressive bike for the money and everything. But this is completely unexpected to actually perform better than that did over the 0 to 60 has just blown my mind completely. But it can more than match the better performing 125s up to 60 mile an hour, and I'm blown away by that. I just need to take a moment here and just appreciate this. Honestly, I'm blown away. If I was limited to a 125 bike, yeah, it's perfect for the job. The only thing I would say, and this is, I'm going to finish on this, is that if you are shorter than me, you will struggle on this bike, because I'm on my tiptoes, and it's only the fact that I'm used to riding like that on my own bike that I can deal with it. But if you are much shorter than me, just expect to be like a ballet dancer when you come to stop. And if you're comfortable with that and you're okay with it, then awesome. But otherwise, it might not be the bike for you. Taller riders, yes, 100%. This is going to be able to compete with the fast bikes. This actually was faster than a Lexmoto LXR and the LXS, faster than the Vosges R125 behind it, faster than pretty much most of the bikes I've done that speed test on. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 of the sporty ones that have been faster, but that's not many in the bikes that I've took on that test. And that is why this bike, it's just, oh, it comes with my seal of approval. Absolutely awesome. Now that really is going to do me, so I will catch you on the next one. I'll put a link in the description to Intumoto and for this bike. Hopefully, if it's something you're into, you get it in time, because I think it will sell quickly, and yeah, whoever buys it's going to get an absolute beast. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Laters.